Shalom, everyone. We almost finished the first essay in Likut Sichos Aleph. 1 second. In Mishpatim, and the subject was that the Jewish people are called a scattered sheep, and because they are a scattered sheep, it is hard for them to repay God what He loans to them. Namely, He loans to them the Jewish soul, which they're supposed to use properly and return. And because of these four different damagers, which are an ox and a garment and a donkey and a sheep, they can't. And the Rebbe explains, according to Hasidut, exactly what these each four represent. But the main point is the sheep, and it says the sheep is the hardest of all. In the Gemara, and it hints at the Gemara, kasha, that a sheep is hard. What's the problem with the sheep? It says the sheep is the hardest of all, says the Gemara. Say the Aveda that if the sheep that gets lost, that if you lose, if the reason you lose your godly soul and you don't express it is because of this problem of the sheep. What is sheep? Means that he has no backbone. Thus is a shvera. This is the worst, the hardest to return. Now, the Jewish people, interestingly enough, God gave the Jewish people a lot of reasons to be ashamed. A lot of reasons to be ashamed. The main one is that we're outnumbered, like 500 to 1 or something like that. The Jews are like 0.02% of the world's population, or 0.2%. I don't know. Anyway, 500, 1,000. Some tremendously, ridiculously small number of the world's population. And amazingly, everyone's attention is always on us, right? The Jews are always in the news. Israel especially is always in the news. Everybody's, what the Israelis do, the terrible tragedies and Holocaust that they're doing on the Palestinians. Just awful. The Palestinians shoot like 3-4 years ago, they shot 4,000 missiles at us. The Palestinians try to destroy every man, woman, and children actively in Israel. They shoot these missiles and everything. And when the Jews kill a couple of them, so first of all, it's not as many as they say, and it should be 20 times as many as they say. But in fact, the matter is, it's not as many as they say. We should do to them what they try to do to us. We should carpet bomb them. That's what they do. They carpet bomb. But nevertheless, when we don't do that, and we're so worried about what the United Nations will say and what they do this, and so then we only kill like 20 of them, 100 of them, something like that. Oh, the world, you are a bunch of ogres, maniacs, bloodthirsty Draculas, killing these innocent, poor the Palestinians, that all they do is shoot missiles at you, and you get all angry for nothing. What are you getting angry about for? Just because you're not okay. Anyway, forgetting about the politics of the issue, the fact of the matter is the big problem with the Jews is they are a scattered sheep, even now in Israel. This is knitted the yisod because they lack the foundation of all of the four books of the Shulchan Aruch, all the four books of the Torah law, which are al yivosh mipenim aligim. Don't be ashamed from the people who scoff at you. And I would dare to say that this is 99% of the reason. I don't know if that's accurate, but let's just say, for argument's sake, why so many Jews in Israel, especially in Israel, are not religious. And let's say outside of Israel, let's say they really, have a reason to be afraid. They're surrounded by non-Jews, and the non-Jews, who knows? It was just a Holocaust just 70 years ago. So maybe, who knows what's going to happen? The Lubavitcher Rebbe said that we have nothing to be afraid of, and those people are his followers. Pretty much don't anyway. But the people in Israel, they got all these bombs and they have a beautiful army and the Air Force and all this, so they're not supposed to be ashamed. And nevertheless, with the army and everything, they still give back lands, and they're ashamed and they're afraid of their Judaism, and they don't want to express it. They don't want to keep Shabbat. They don't want to, because what's the world going to say? If this is lacking, then vivet er, how can it be kumen to Shulchan Aruch? How could a person possibly come to do the laws of the Torah if he's ashamed of the whole world and he's afraid of the whole world around him? What are they going to say? What's the United Nations going to say? What's France going to say? What's Germany going to say? What's Russia going to say? And the fact of the matter is they would all be in favor of a country. Everybody respects someone who respects themselves. Okay. Anyway, the problem is a problem. What's the solution? We'll see in a second. Und das ist der Chidush. This is the novelty. Azov is such a difficult loss, such a difficult, how do you say, concealment, is you can return. Because there's nothing that stands before what's called tshuva, return. When a Jew simply returns to his true identity, which is there waiting for him. So all of a sudden, he realizes that not only should he not be ashamed of the non-Jews, but he should like the non-Jews. What do you got to be ashamed of? They're our pupils. They're our patients. They are our constituents. We're here to benefit the whole world. We're here to cure the whole world, but we have to be healthy ourselves. We're here to make the whole world a joyous and blessed place. What are you ashamed of? What do you got to be ashamed of? Who am I? I'm a teacher. I'm a doctor. Okay, how do we get out of this condition? How do we get out of this condition? Here we go. Ready? Here's the answer. Let's go. What's going on over here? Zogt weiter. It says later on in the Torah portion from the Sedra, as their pasuk, the psak din, that the law is. I want to make it bigger here. That the law is, right? How do you regain your Jewish identity if you're so ashamed and you're so afraid of expressing it? You're so far away from it. So it says like this. It says later on in the sentence from this whole thing about if you lost what is given to you, if it's a sheep, whatever, as their pasak din, that the law is when the eitzah and also the advice which is given to such a case where even if you purposely lose or deny the return, that you're going to return this trust which is trusted to you. And Shivasviv was sure that the reason you don't return is because of an act, you have a bad temper, or you're cold, or you are deceitful, or even, like we said, the sheep, that he's ashamed of everybody around him. You have to go al Elokim. You have to go to the judges. To the judges, both of them. God and you have to go to the judges. Who's the judges? And the judges, in this case, they're going to get you back to your senses so that you can return the energy that God is giving to you. Who is this talking about? The Eish Dain. This is talking about the first judge. This is talking about in the Torah. This is talking about the first judge. Who was the first judge? Moses. When there's Peshlush is the Moshe and the branch, the representative of Moses in every generation. Was git them koach. He gives the power. Oif ben tshuva, oif tan tshuva, to do tshuva, to return to God like you should. The whole idea of Moses is to remind the Jewish people and to connect the Jewish people to themselves, to their true Jewish identity, to their awareness of God and the responsibility to God. And that's the job of Moses. The Jewish people are here to improve the world, to make the world a godly place, to build a holy temple. And that's what it says, Yeshalim Shnayim L'Reihu. The advice that the judge gives is pay double. You have to pay back double to the person who loaned you. Who is that? That's talking about God. What do you mean you have to pay double? Ervet Betzalin, you have to pay the Eibishter God, B'kiflayim, double. V'kodem, you have to be double like it was before the sin. V'yeshteit, like it says in the Igeres HaTshuva, the book of one of the books of the Tanya, 4 chapters of the Tanya, what do you call it? Haya Ragil, if you used to read 1 page of Torah a day, now you should read 2 pages. If you didn't read anything, at least read something. Und Darmant there, and by means of this, Darmant, and then vet im der Eberster geben mira keneged mira. And when you repay God double, then God will repay you double. As euch the zadonos, even the purposeful sin that you did, they'll become merits. How is it that a purposeful sin can become a merit? Because a person says, why did I do sins? Why did I rebel against God? Why was I so chutzpahdik and refused to pay God what I owe him, or at least a little bit of what I owe him? Why did I deny my debt totally? Why? Because I wanted to. It was my mistake. And now, in order to stop my wanting that, as I have to really reorient myself. I realize that I made a big mistake, and my desire is to make the mistake again. So I have to, my enemy is me. I have to fix myself up. I can't listen to those voices inside of me and those urges that say, do the same thing again. It felt good, and it'll feel good more. Eat that not kosher food, right? Steal that money. Do whatever you want to. You felt good. It says, yeah, maybe it felt good temporarily, but it was going against the truth. But how can I stop myself? I want to do it again. So it means you have to really put a tremendous effort and fight a tremendous battle in order to defeat the dragon. But once you do, then that means you've put double energy into being who you really are. That's a thing that normal people don't do. Normal person that never sinned before, as he doesn't have to put any big energy in order to serve God. He doesn't make any sacrifices to serve God. He just serves God. It's a natural thing to him. But me, that I did sins in the past, is I have to fix myself up and do double what I did before. That extra energy, that's what transforms the sins into merits. Why? Because of the sins, therefore, I work double. On oich der nefesh abam, then also the animal soul will help, so that ends that your own animal soul, your natural self, will help to serve God. You realize it's a good thing. Hey, I'm a Jew. Over pratios and in detail, from dem nefesh abam is from the animal soul, which is in the aspect of an ox, which we said before, an ox was a person that was, how do you say, the vicious, and the over assertive. Rav Tavuos B'Koach Shor. It says that there's a tremendous benefit in the power of an ox. What about a donkey? How can we transform that? Yisachar Chamor Gorem. It says that Yisachar is a thick donkey. What does it mean? The avoda from Kabbalah soil. He accepts the yoke of serving God, and like a donkey serves his master. Is willing to carry things that are even greater than its own body weight. Jew is willing to do anything that the master says. What about a sheep? From sheep it says, "Was das is the state that says ta'iti kaseh. I have been mistaken," said King David. I am mistaken. I have strayed like a lost sheep. Blungit. Azoi via he confused like a sheep, was hat nit kein eigenem tokef, which has no power of his own. He just follows after the leader, after whoever leads him, or whatever, right? Whatever leads him. Und wird verloren, he's lost. Wird bakash abdecha meshcheni acharecha. Instead of that, we'll follow God like a sheep. Draw me, tell me what to do, God, and I'll do it. That he's drawn after God, lamaila, above tam v'dad, above any understanding. And from Salma, like we said, from the garment, which we said that meant infidelity, is reach slumecha b'reach lavonon, like it says in the Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, that the smell of your garments is like the smell of incense. In Algemein is thus, the nefesh abamis, this is the animal soul, helps to serve God, like the rabbis say, you have to love God with all of your hearts. Good. Let's just do a little bit more. We'll begin this and tomorrow we'll finish it with God's help. So what did we learn from this? We learned that through going to Moshe Rabbeinu, in this case it's the Rebbe, the teachings of Chabad especially, but by going to your rabbi, whoever it is, as he can reorient you to understand that you're a Jew and you can, instead of being a lost sheep, following the whims and the how do you say, the spirit of the times, as you can follow, instead of that, you can follow the creator of the universe above reason. And by means of that, transform your confusion into Jewish joy. That's what we learned here. Next, in our Torah portion, it says, there's a commandment to loan money. Im kesef tavi. The rabbis say, as chach, even though it says if you loan money, that's it says im kesef, is made as nit kind of shoot. This is not optional, nor does as a mitzvah. It is a commandment and an obligation. Oifen pasuk on the sentence where it says Magi Davrav Yankov Chukov Mishpatav Yisrael, and that's what it says. Told his words to Yaakov and his laws to Yisrael. Just one moment. All right, my friends, we just began a class today, and I realized that I gave most of this class when I wasn't feeling good, and I wasn't aware of how not good I was feeling, but I realized that I gave the class before. We already went over this topic, and where did we stop yesterday? We stopped here. It's talking about God loaning power, giving power to the Jewish people. And why? Because he chose them. And the fact that he chose them means that he chose them not because of any qualities that they have. He just decided to choose them. God decided there would be a people that he would choose, and he would give them a special soul. And this special soul would be the tuned in to the creator of the universe. And our job is supposed to be educators to the whole entire world. Well, first of all, we have to get it together ourselves. But the reason is because God chose us. So no matter what we do, he'll never take away that choice. He didn't choose us for any reason. He just chose us arbitrarily, if you want to call it. But he did choose us. And because that choice is above time and it's above place, so what did he choose us to do? What did he choose to give us? What's to give us is kesef. Kesef means we have this love. Every Jew has hidden. Every Jew has hidden in the essence of his soul this love for God, infinite love for God. Okay, so if you look yesterday, we see, I'm sorry, I finished. I knew I had to finish, but instead of finishing what we began yesterday, I finished what I had already finished 2 days ago. So, okay, anyway, it's the Torah of the Rebbe. So even if we go over it 100 times, it's not too much, but it's suddenly I realized that I had said the same thing before. Okay, Vibal, because that God is giving us this power, this kesef, this natural love. He's giving us this loan. Is from a zoe that comes from such a place in godliness. Vusi is nitnogea, which is not relevant at all. 1 second, let me make this a little bigger over here. How do I do this? 1 second. I'm covering over the. Oh. Yes, okay. Because that this giving of power is from such a place where it's not relevant what we do. God is always going to choose the Jews and always give them, no matter what we've done. And we've done terrible things. I mean, the temple has been destroyed. 2 temples would be in exile for 2,000 years because of our lack of connection to God. But nevertheless, God is never going to change his mind, because the reason he chose us was just from free choice, not because of any reason. So therefore, this power that is given to every Jew, varum, because in them or the place from vanet as ben nishach, the place, this level of godliness from which is drawn down this power, hat Heder avoda, the lack of our service or even our sins, doesn't have any gepoilin kein bugam. It doesn't make any blemish. Und das is euch was, but the pasuk is mamshik. That's what it says. Es ani imach, that the poor person with you, nit cooking dick, notwithstanding, was is an ani, that the Jew is poor. What does it mean that he is poor? Hat zan. Hat, he has sich rein getracht in sein Mamud. He starts to think about what situation he is in as far as serving God. Umitzav und is zerbrochen. He's totally broken from the fact that he's not serving God and doesn't even want to serve God. He has no desire to serve God. And this breaks him because he knows he should be. Und das taka from was zu sein zerbrochen. And he has reasons to be broken. Right? We're talking about even a Jew that is the furthest afar you can possibly imagine from deswegen. Nevertheless, darf erweisen, he has to know, as euch that even he hat der koach, has the power from above, barum, because ahava atzmis, because love of himself. What does it mean? And der greicht alaman, der greicht alaman euch because this essential love of God that God has for the Jewish people, this reaches everyone, including him. Someone once told me, I know people that are like that they were, in the lowest of the lows, they were in some bar in who knows, Amsterdam or something like that, doing the worst things and thinking about doing more of the worst things and everything. And all of a sudden they heard on the television or something that today is happens to be the Jewish Day of Atonement. And Jews are going around, and someone made a joke about the Jews. And all of a sudden he says, hey man, don't talk bad about the Jews. I'm a Jew. He says, you're a Jew. What? How can you, you're a Jew. Your name is James or something like that. He says, listen, fact is I'm a Jew. And all of a sudden the guy just thinks, man, I'm a Jew, what have I done? Where am I going to? And that's it. He figures, okay, I'm just so lost. Give me another drink, bartender. Give me a bottle or something. I got to forget this. All of a sudden he thinks, listen, one second. The Lubavitcher Rebbe said, or he hears the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, or he thinks it could be that there's someone in the world that says that a Jew is beloved by God no matter what. And God will give her the power to get out of a situation. Adarab, exactly the opposite. Therefore, vil in an ani. Therefore, he knows that he's poor. Right? Because he is poor and he knows that he's poor, who do you give a loan to? Who does God give a loan to? To someone who's poor. Is there bewusst, it's known as their Eibishter that God gefint sich in a leiv nishbar, that God is found where in a broken heart. V'nit ketavka. The fact that his heart is broken, this makes him closer to God than anyone else. Closer. Lo tieh kanosh noshe. That's what it says, that God, that the law is that if you loan money to someone, you can't go and demand it from him all the time. If you know the person hasn't got the ability to pay, you're not supposed to be like a noshe. A noshe is a person that demands the money back. Right? If you think that the person is just lying and he's tricking you, then you can demand the money. But if you know the person hasn't got the money, and you say, listen, the reason he hasn't got the money is because he's lazy. I'm going to push him. I'm going to make him give the money. Or if their love, if the loaner had nit mit was zu zahlen, hasn't got what to pay back, or b'meila vet der mannen nit helfen. Therefore, if you remind him, it's not going to help. As mer nit ve machen him, it'll just make the person feel miserable. As torment by him nit man, and therefore it says you're not supposed to demand the money from him. But you see him in the street, say hello. That's all. If the person he knows, don't worry about. The person knows he owes you money. Noch mer, even more. Mentor nit dorch gehen. You're not even supposed to pass by his house. Dem love ba'ofen es soll him machen ang. You're supposed to try to avoid going by him in the street if he owes you money, so it's not to make him feel bad. Be gerett free, like we said. So it's the same thing with God. If God sees that a Jew cannot pay him back, so he'll let him go. God does the commandments just like we do. Says it's his commandments. Be gerett free, like we said before, is Magi Davrav Yankov, that God tells his commandments to the Jews. Mashu mitzvah, that which he commands the Jews to do, he himself does. Is a zoy oich lamayla, so it is also by in the upper worlds. B'shas mitten b'shas as mitten manen, when it is that God demands durich kavish small by means of being severe, or mit yisurim, and with difficulties and punishments or whatever, as tut min gornishoif, it doesn't help. Is stam manen, therefore requesting lo lo kanoshe, then it says you shouldn't be like a noshe. I just saw that in Isaiah in the beginning. The God says, "Why should I punish the Jews? I punish them; it doesn't help." Nevertheless, the first temple was destroyed. Isaiah was before the first temple, so God said, "I'll destroy the temple. I won't destroy them." Azoi vs state like it says. Oh, here it is. Here, this is it. Well, but like it says, Alma tocho od tosifu tzora. I'm saying this is the place where I saw it. Right. It says, "Why should I tocho od? Why should I reprove them od?" Tosifa Sora, they just increase, they just continue doing bad. It's not helping them. See, it's from Isaiah. Where is it? Right in the beginning, like the fifth, right in the first chapter. What's this number over here? You see, it says Isaiah Aleph. Hey, the fifth sentence, the beginning of Isaiah. Vipaltas is Paul nicht. Punishing the Jews and making bad things happen to them, it doesn't make them repent, right? Arab, exactly the opposite. Al Tosifa Sora. Punishing the Jews just makes them do more bad things. When God sees as mitem kava small, that with severity, tut men nit oif, it doesn't accomplish anything. As veter veder an hoiben mitten kava yamin, then he'll say, okay, you know what? I'll go with them in a pleasant way, in a nice way, in a good way. There was when Saddam Hussein, I remember this was in, 1990 or something like that, he shot all these missiles into Israel. So there were a few, the Lubavitcher Rebbe said, you don't have to worry, nothing is going to happen, no one's going to get hurt, which is exactly what. But there were other rabbis, fire and brimstone rabbis, that they said, now it was going to be another Holocaust, and the Rebbe put out a whole big book. I'll even show you the book. Here. 1 second, give me 1 second. Here, the whole big book. See this? It was speeches that the Rebbe gave on that year against everything that person said, not against the person, even though he had a couple of sort of stinging words for that person. He said is the simple of the simpletons, and and the person is basically a fool. And how can he say things like that? He's going against the Torah. He's going against the Midrash. He's going against the Chumash. He's going against the Gemara. He's going against the law. It's going against everything. Anyway, but the fact is saying bad things about the Jewish people opens up the door to bad things. So the Rebbe gave this beautiful speeches. Let's see, how many pages is this? This is, we could sometimes learn, this is like 221 pages of just saying good things about the Jewish people. Just good about the Jewish people, no matter how many reasons you have to do otherwise, only good about the Jewish people, and how those who spoke against the Jewish people did not have, a good result for themselves. Okay. So it says, here what are we talking about? Loaning. It says that if you loan money to someone, you see the person can't pay back, so you're not supposed to go and demand it from him or be severe or punish him or make him feel bad. Well, it's the same thing with God. God loans to us. He gives us a loan of our life, our soul, our very being, our eyes, our nose, our mouth, everything, and we're supposed to use it properly in return. But if God sees that we can't return it back to him, so first of all, he'll never give up on us. That's number one. And number two, he will definitely loan us, and he'll continue to loan us. But even more, he won't, if he sees that we can't give it back, he won't demand us, and he won't come with difficulties and give us all sorts of punishments and put us down in hell and all sorts of different things like that. That God wants us to return. He doesn't want to punish us. He's got no intention of doing things like that. That's okay. Therefore, therefore God will only give love, mit kiru v'chesed, with closeness, with kindness and mercy, b'tov anira, and a good and revealed good for the Jewish people, which we see, by the way. I mean, just a very short innuendo. I mean, this is my take on this thing. We see in America now that they have this terrible leftist government, just really awful. suicidal, and all of America is just falling apart. The whole country is falling apart. I mean, I personally do not believe that there's going to be another elections unless there'll be some amazing miracle, because the whole thing is obviously just going down the drain. There's no justice system, and the FBI and the CIA are all spying on the people, and they're protecting this terrible, crooked, just suicidal government that there is over there, and these total inept people with this woke thing going on and all this crazy stuff going on, and it's just falling apart. And here in Israel, we've had basically the same suicidal leftist, leaders, maybe even worse than is over there. And we've had it for over 70 years. And, America would never dream of giving land, back to someone, giving land back to the, to England. And we took the land from England, give land to England, give land back to France, maybe make concessions over here. Russia wants Alaska, give them Alaska, they would never dream of doing a thing like that. Give Texas back to Mexico, and never in a million years. And here in Israel, they give land away to our worst enemies. And they even say that they deserve more. That's the government, and it's incredible. And just now they're starting to make war against the Supreme Court, which the Supreme Court is, like it says, it's supreme. It doesn't have anything to do with the people. They make their own decisions. They can decide anything that they want to. Everything goes. And miraculously, God has been saving us from them for the last 70 whatever years. And the rightist governments in Israel are worse than the leftist governments. They're the ones that give everything back, right? Begin gave back, what the Sharon gave back, to talk about. They gave even Bibi Netanyahu, the rightists in a way, they're worse than the leftists, right? Incredible. And nevertheless, amazingly, God has mercy and he protects us. And there's always these rabbis that stand up and say, and now those who do not keep the Shabbat, they will suffer perdition. They were this, right? There's always these, how do you call them? Sick people, sick people, just negative people that want to take out their negativity and do it in the name of the Torah on other Jews. Okay, what are you going to do? And nevertheless, God doesn't listen to them. And these people, some of them do have Torah. Some of them actually know how to learn the Torah very well, and they bring sentences. And nevertheless, God has mercy on the Jewish people, and you come to the land of Israel, and it's just, incredible, just incredible that there's peace here, and that there's order, and that there's law, and the whole country is open to our worst enemies possible, and the whole world is against us. We're murderers, and we're killers, and we're this, and I don't think there's any other country in the world. They have like soldiers, they can walk around, they're not supposed to leave their weapons at home. So they walk around with submachine guns, and almost, every third person has a pistol, and here are our enemies right in front of us, and nobody shoots them. No one shoots them. It's just totally amazing. If there was the enemies like that against the people of America and everyone was armed, they would open up in a second. Everybody would open up fire. What's the doubt? Give these Intifada guys, these Antifa guys, the guns, and the Black Lives Matter, which to them nothing matters whatsoever. Give them all, make them all armed. They think the whole world is against them, right? Oh, it would just be bloodsheds in the street. It already is bloodshed in the streets over there. And in Israel, not very rarely, right? Very rarely. I think maybe once in every 30 years or something, there was one fellow. Anyway. So here we see how God is merciful with the Jewish people. Amazing, incredible mercy. You see, they advertise. You ever see? I was on I just flew to the Rebbe. I came back. They have an advertisement for these different countries, and they have Israel. They have a short clip, 5 seconds on Israel. What do they have? Girls on the beach waving, dressed like, like prostitutes, and they're with waving LGBT flags. That's Israel. That's what they advertise Israel. Understand? The whole thing is just totally upset. And God loves us, and God has mercy on us, and God will continue having mercy on us, and God will only do us good, and God protects us. No matter how much we let him down. He'll never let us down. God is infinitely good and infinitely kind. So that's why he loans us money, and even if we can't pay back, he doesn't demand it from us. It only gives us good. Okay, have a good day with Moshiach. Now, God willing, tomorrow we'll learn the third speech over here that the Rebbe gave. And have a good day with Moshiach. Oh, we are going to learn the Dvar Malchut. Here we go.